Close your eyes. Feel the weight of your body settle. Let the present moment fade away. Now, step backward through time. Not years, not centuries, but thousands of years. Keep going. Further, deeper into the past. You are standing somewhere you have never been. Somewhere no modern human has stood in living memory. Open your eyes. You are on the edge of the world as it was 12,800 years ago. The air cuts like a blade. The temperature is 20 degrees below zero. The wind howls with a voice that has no mercy. Before you rises a wall of ice. The Laurentide ice sheet. It is 3 kilometers thick, nearly 2 miles of crushing ancient ice. It covers most of North America. It is alive in its own way, groaning, cracking, breathing cold. This is not the world you know. This is the world at the edge of the abyss. The Younger Dryas event is beginning. In Greenland, the ice cores will one day reveal the truth. Temperatures drop by 10 degrees Celsius in a single decade. That is 18 degrees Fahrenheit. A planetary shock, a sudden stop. Imagine the violence. The ocean currents stall. Heat stops flowing north. The northern hemisphere freezes. Woolly mammoths die where they stand. Flash frozen, their stomachs still full of summer flowers. The Clovis people vanish. Their tools disappear from the archaeological record. A culture is erased in the blink of geological time. The energy required to freeze a mammoth in hours, not years, hours, is staggering. Temperatures below -150 degrees Fahrenheit. This is cosmic violence, silent, cold, absolute. The ice grinds mountains to powder. It reshapes continents. It buries history under a white shroud. What if this was not random? What if the timing was too precise to be chance? The Earth has cycles, yes, but this event is different. It is sharp, sudden, suspicious. The data shows an interruption, a deliberate pause in the warming, a forced return to the freeze. The mechanism? Comets? Solar flares? Or something else? Something structural, a kill switch built into the planet itself. Look at what was lost. The Younger Dryas lasted 1,200 years, 50 generations of cold, 50 generations of forgetting. What civilizations dissolved under the snow? What knowledge was buried? We find anomalies. Gobekli Tepe, dated to 9,500 BC. Massive stone pillars with intricate carvings. No agriculture, no pottery, just stone and astronomy. It appears fully formed at the end of the freeze, as if someone was waiting to restart. The ocean levels rose and fell violently. Meltwater pulse 1A, meltwater pulse 1B. Sea levels rose 120 meters, that is 400 feet. Coastlines vanished overnight. Doggerland drowned beneath the North Sea. Sundaland disappeared under the Indian Ocean. If there were cities on those coasts, they are gone. Buried in silt, hidden in the deep, waiting in the darkness. Why did it happen then? Just as humans were emerging, just as we were learning, just as the previous ice age was ending. The Bulling-Alarud interstadial, a warm period, had begun. Life was thriving. Then chaos, a sudden reversal. It feels corrective, as if the Earth sensed something and reacted or was triggered. What if the ice ages are not weather? What if they are a function, a periodic reset, a clearing of the cache, a way to manage the growth of intelligence? The ice as a barrier, a filter, a test. We think of the Earth as passive, a stage for life. But what if it regulates itself? What if it has an immune system, and we are the fever? The numbers haunt us. 12,800 years ago. The start, 11,600 years ago. The end? A pocket of time, isolated, severe, anomalous. The models cannot reproduce the speed, the sheer velocity of the climate shift. It suggests a trigger we have not found, a gear in the planetary clockwork we cannot see. We build our cities on the coast. We assume stability. We call the last 10,000 years normal, but it is the exception. The ice is the norm. The cold is the default. We are living in a brief summer, and we are fragile, a drop of 10 degrees, a shift in the current, and it all ends. Again. So we ask the question that changes everything. Yea, the question that turns geology into mystery. The question we will explore tonight as we drift into the dark. What if the Ice Age was not a random act of nature, but a deliberate, engineered reset of human civilization? If you enjoy journeys like this one, consider subscribing. There's much more waiting for you. To understand the premise of a reset, we must first ground ourselves in the known reality of the cryosphere. The science of ice is known as glaciology, and it tells a story of rhythmic, oscillating change that defines our planet's recent history. We are technically still in an ice age. We are living in the Quaternary glaciation, which began roughly 2.58 million years ago. What we consider normal, this temperate, fertile climate, is merely an interglacial period. It is a brief, warm breath between long, freezing exhalations. The Holocene, our current epoch, has lasted approximately 11,700 years. In the grand scope of deep time, this is a momentary pause. The mechanisms that drive these cycles are largely attributed to the Milankovitch cycles. Named after the Serbian geophysicist Milutin Milankovic, these are collective movements of the Earth's orbit. There are three primary cycles. Eccentricity, the shape of Earth's orbit around the Sun, which shifts from circular to elliptical every 100,000 years. Obliquity, the tilt of the Earth's axis, which varies between 22.1 and 24.5 degrees over a 41,000-year cycle. And precession, the wobble of the Earth's axis, like a spinning top, which completes a cycle every 26,000 years. When these cycles align to reduce the amount of solar radiation hitting the northern hemisphere in summer, the ice fails to melt. It accumulates, year after year, century after century. The albedo effect takes over. White ice reflects sunlight, cooling the planet further. The ice grows. The ocean drops. The world changes. We know this because of the heroic efforts of scientists in the most inhospitable places on Earth. The Vostok station in Antarctica, a Russian research outpost, sits atop ice that is over 3,700 meters thick. In the 1990s, a joint team of French, Russian, and American scientists drilled deep into this ice. They extracted cores that reach back 420,000 years. These cores are time machines. Tiny bubbles of ancient atmosphere are trapped in the ice. By analyzing the ratio of oxygen isotopes and the concentration of carbon dioxide in these bubbles, we can reconstruct the temperature and atmosphere of the past with remarkable precision. The data shows a sawtooth pattern. Long, slow cooling periods lasting roughly 90,000 years, followed by sharp, rapid warming periods lasting about 10,000 years. We are currently near the end of one of those warm periods. Another key site is the Summit Camp in Greenland. The Greenland Ice Sheet Project 2, GISP-2, drilled to bedrock in 1993, reaching a depth of 3,053 meters. The resolution of the Greenland cores is incredibly high, allowing scientists to see annual layers, much like tree rings. This is where the evidence for the Younger Dryas is most dramatic. The data confirms that the warming at the end of the last glacial maximum was interrupted. The graph line plummets. It reveals that the climate system is non-linear. It has tipping points. It is capable of switching states with terrifying speed. Dr. Richard Alley, a prominent glaciologist from Penn State University, has described the climate system as a drunk beast, unpredictable and prone to violent stumbling. The Younger Dryas event specifically is dated to have begun 12,900 years ago and ended 11,700 years ago. The precision of these dates is possible thanks to radiocarbon dating and dendrochronology, tree ring dating. For example, German oaks found preserved in bogs provide an unbroken record stretching back over 12,000 years. By overlapping these tree ring patterns with radiocarbon data, we can anchor the climate events in absolute time. We know that during the Younger Dryas, temperatures in Greenland dropped by 15 degrees Celsius, 27 degrees Fahrenheit compared to today. In the UK, beetle remains indicate a drop in average winter temperatures to minus 25 degrees Celsius. The Gulf Stream, the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, AMOC, effectively shut down. Warm water from the tropics stopped flowing north. Europe froze. But the science also reveals the destruction of evidence. The last glacial maximum, which peaked around 20,000 years ago, saw global sea levels drop by approximately 125 meters, 410 feet. This exposed vast tracts of land that are now submerged. The continental shelves were dry plains. Beringia connected Asia and North America. Doggerland connected Britain to Europe. Sunderland united the islands of Indonesia into a continent the size of Europe. These lost lands were the most habitable zones during the Ice Age. They were low-lying, warmer, and rich in resources. If human civilizations existed during this time, they would likely have clustered in these coastal regions. When the ice melted, the water returned. The civilizational reset may simply be the drowning of the evidence. Marine archaeology is far more difficult and expensive than land archaeology. We have explored less than 5% of the ocean floor. Recent studies using LiDAR, light detection and ranging technology have begun to peel back the jungle canopy in places like the Amazon and Central America, revealing vast, previously unknown settlements. While these are post-Ice Age, they demonstrate how easily nature can hide massive human footprints. Now imagine the destructive power of a glacier. A glacier is a river of ice that acts like sandpaper. It scours the bedrock. It erodes mountains. It transports boulders the size of houses. So it leaves behind moraines, piles of rubble, and drumlins. Any structure, any city, any monument built in the path of the Laurentide or Fennoscandian ice sheets would have been ground to dust. The evidence of a pre-Ice Age civilization in the northern latitudes would not just be hidden, it would be erased, pulverized, distributed as sediment across the continent. We also have the black mat layer. Discovered at over 50 sites across North America, Europe, and South America, this is a thin layer of carbon-rich soil dated to exactly 12,800 years ago, the start of the Younger Dryas. It contains high concentrations of iridium, microscopic spherules of melted rock, and nanodiamonds. These are hallmarks of a cosmic impact or airburst. The Younger Dryas impact hypothesis proposes that a disintegrating comet struck the Earth or exploded in the atmosphere, triggering the cooling and the mass extinction of megafauna. Critics argue the evidence is inconsistent, but the debate remains active and heated in scientific circles. If confirmed, it provides a smoking gun for the sudden reset, a mechanism from the sky that altered the destiny of the Earth. Furthermore, genetic studies of human populations show a severe bottleneck around 70,000 years ago, likely linked to the Toba supervolcano eruption, but also smaller bottlenecks closer to the end of the Pleistocene. The human population may have dropped to as few as 1,000 to 10,000 breeding pairs. We were an endangered species. The ice and the events accompanying it nearly extinguished the human flame. On this scientific reality underpins the concept of a reset. We are the survivors of a near miss. Our history is the history of those who made it through the bottleneck. The reset is not a metaphor, it is a demographic fact. Consider the megafauna extinction. Between 50,000 and 10,000 years ago, the majority of the world's large land mammals vanished. In North America, 35 genera disappeared, including mammoths, mastodons, giant ground sloths, camels, and saber-toothed cats. In South America, the loss was even greater. Australia lost its giant marsupials. This was not a gradual fading away, it was a collapse. The debate rages between overkill, human hunting, and climate change as the cause. But the speed and synchronization with the climate shifts suggest the environment itself became hostile to large life. The ecosystem could no longer support the energy requirements of giants. The world shrank, the resources thinned. The reset favored the small, the adaptable, the efficient. There is also the mystery of the meltwater pulses. Pulse 1. A, occurring around 14,600 years ago, saw sea levels rise by about 20 meters in less than 500 years. Some estimates suggest a rise of 4 to 6 centimeters per year. This would be noticeable to a human observer within a single lifetime. A beach where you played as a child would be deep underwater by the time you were old. Villages would have to move constantly. Stability would be impossible. The deluge myths found in nearly every culture, from the Bible to the Epic of Gilgamesh to Aboriginal Dreamtime stories, may be cultural memories of these rapid sea level rises. The science of eustatic sea level change provides the physical basis for these ancient traumas. Dr. Robert Schoch, a geologist from Boston University, has proposed that solar activity played a major role. He suggests that a massive solar outburst, a superflare or micronova, could have melted the ice rapidly, ended the Ice Age, and incinerated surface civilizations. He points to the vitrification of ancient forts in Scotland and the glass fields of the Libyan desert as possible evidence of extreme thermal events. While highly controversial, this hypothesis aligns with the suddenness of the warming period around 9,700 BC. It introduces the sun as the active agent of the reset. The star that gives us life also holds the power to reboot the system. We must also consider the Earth's magnetic field. The Lashump event, roughly 41,000 years ago, was a brief reversal of the magnetic poles. During this time, the magnetic shield weakened significantly, allowing more cosmic radiation to hit the surface. Recent studies suggest this event coincided with the extinction of the Neanderthals and an increase in cave art. Perhaps humans sought refuge underground from the radiation. While earlier than the Younger Dryas, it demonstrates that the Earth's protective systems are not constant. The shield can drop. The reset can come from the invisible forces that surround our planet. The study of speleothems, cave deposits like stalagmites, adds another layer of detail. In caves in China and Brazil, the oxygen isotope ratios in these formations track the intensity of the monsoon rains. They show a direct teleconnection between the North Atlantic temperature and the tropical rainfall. When the North freezes, the tropical rains fail. The reset is global. A drought in the Amazon is linked to a blizzard in Berlin. The Earth is a single resonant system. You cannot touch one part without vibrating the whole web. The Ice Age was not just a cold spell, it was a systemic reorganization of the planet's hydroclimate. In summary, the science confirms that the Earth is prone to violent, rapid oscillations. It confirms that sea levels have swallowed vast territories. It confirms that the last great shift happened recently, in the window of human prehistory. It confirms that a mechanism, whether orbital, oceanic, volcanic, or cosmic, triggered a catastrophe that wiped out the megafauna and nearly wiped out us. The physical evidence for a reset is etched into the ice, the rock, and the genetic code. The question remains, was it random chaos, or is it a recurring feature of the system? A feature that we are just beginning to understand as we drift off into the dream of the Holocene. Close your eyes and let the present fade. Let the hum of electricity dissolve. Let the warmth of your room expand into a vast, silent chill. We are going back. We are drifting on the currents of time, back to the world as it was 20,000 years ago. The Earth is familiar, yet alien. It is a planet in the grip of the cryosphere, a white jewel suspended in the black void. The blue is deeper, the white is brighter. The silence is profound. Stand on the edge of the Great Laurentide ice sheet. You are roughly where Chicago is today, but there is no city, there is no lake, there is only a cliff of ice rising 2,000 meters into the pale sky. It is a wall of blue-white crystal, scarred with fissures, groaning under its own immense weight. The air is thin and biting. It smells of ozone and crushed rock. The temperature is 20 degrees below zero. The wind is relentless. It is a katabatic wind, pouring off the top of the glacier like a heavy liquid, rushing down to the plains, carrying needles of ice that sting the skin. The scale of this ice sheet defies comprehension. It extends from the Arctic Ocean to the Ohio River Valley, from the Atlantic coast to the Rocky Mountains. It contains enough water to raise global sea levels by 70 meters if it were to melt today. The weight of the ice is so immense that it has pressed the continent down into the mantle. The crust beneath sags under the burden, creating a depression hundreds of meters deep. This is not just ice. This is a geological force, a continent of frozen water that rewrites the shape of the land itself. To the south, the landscape is a tundra steppe. It is a vast, dry grassland stretching to the horizon. The grass is tough, yellow, and brittle. There are no trees here. The permafrost lies just inches below the surface, a layer of frozen soil as hard as concrete that refuses to let roots go deep. The ground is patterned with polygons, geometric shapes created by the endless cycle of freeze and thaw. It looks like a giant, cracked mosaic. Dust devils swirl in the distance, kicking up the loess, the fine glacial flour that coats everything in a pale grey film. This is the Mammoth steppe, a biome that no longer exists in the modern world. It is cold, yes, but it is also dry. The glaciers have locked away so much moisture that the interior regions receive less precipitation than the Sahara Desert. It is a frozen desert. The air is so dry it sucks the moisture from your lungs with each breath. Your lips crack and bleed, your eyes water and freeze, but the dryness also preserves. Carcasses can lie on the surface for thousands of years without rotting, mummified by the cold and the aridity. The vegetation here is specialized. Tough, low-growing sedges and grasses, Arctic sage that releases a sharp, medicinal scent when crushed underfoot, lichen that grows in concentric rings on the rocks, so slowly that a patch the size of your hand may be centuries old. In sheltered valleys, stands of dwarf birch and willow huddle together, none taller than a child. They are ancient trees, gnarled and twisted, their trunks as thick as your arm, but only waist-high. They have learned to survive by staying low, beneath the cutting wind, beneath the scour of blowing ice. Listen. The silence is broken by a low, rumbling sound. It is not thunder, it is the footfall of giants. A herd of woolly mammoths is moving slowly across the steppe. They are magnificent, massive, shaggy mountains of fur, their tusks curving like scythes, 3 meters long. Their breath clouds the air in rhythmic puffs. They are stripping the bark from dwarf willows, their trunks dexterous and gentle. You can hear the crunch of the vegetation. You can smell their musk, a heavy, earthy scent that lingers in the cold air. They are the lords of this frozen world, adapted, resilient, ancient. Watch them closely. The lead matriarch is massive, perhaps 4 meters tall at the shoulder, in weighing 6 tons. Her fur is a rich, reddish brown, overlaid with long, coarse guard hairs that nearly touch the ground. Beneath the outer coat is an underlayer of dense wool, fine as cashmere, trapping air and warmth. Her ears are small, barely a fifth the size of an African elephant's, minimizing heat loss. Her trunk is shorter, more robust, with a specialized flap of skin on the tip that acts like a finger, perfect for grasping tough, frozen vegetation. The herd moves with purpose. They are migrating, following ancient routes etched into their collective memory. Routes that their ancestors have walked for hundreds of thousands of years. They know where to find water, even in winter. They know where the wind has blown the snow thin, exposing the grass beneath. They communicate in low-frequency rumbles that travel through the ground, the infrasound that can be detected by other mammoths dozens of kilometers away. They are never truly alone. They are always in conversation with the landscape and with each other. Nearby, a woolly rhinoceros grazes. It is a tank of an animal covered in thick, reddish-brown hair. Its two horns are immense, the front one a meter long, worn smooth from sweeping away the snow to find the grass beneath. It grunts, a deep, resonant sound that vibrates in your chest. A pack of dire wolves watches from a ridge. They are larger than modern wolves, heavier, with bone-crushing jaws. Their eyes are intelligent, amber lights in the grey twilight. They are waiting, watching for a straggler, watching for a weakness. The dire wolves are patient hunters. They have learned to follow the herds, waiting for the old, the sick, or the young who wander too far from the protection of the adults. They are social animals, working in coordinated packs of a dozen or more. Their jaws are incredibly powerful, capable of crushing bone to extract the rich marrow within. In a world where every calorie counts, where the margin between survival and starvation is razor-thin, nothing is wasted. They will gnaw on a frozen carcass for days, returning again and again until only scattered fragments remain. There are other predators here too. The cave lion, Panthera spelea, the largest cat that has ever lived, larger even than the modern Siberian tiger. It stalks the periphery of the herds, a tawny ghost in the pale grass. Its roar is a sound that carries for miles, a declaration of territory and dominance. Then there is the short-faced bear, Arctodus simus, a long-legged predator built more like a hyena than a bear, capable of running down prey at speeds that would terrify a horse. It is a scavenger and a hunter, an opportunist that exploits every resource this harsh world provides. Look up. The sky is different. The atmosphere is drier, holding less moisture. The clouds are fewer, thinner, high wisps of cirrus that do nothing to trap the heat. The stars are sharper, piercing the darkness with a cold, hard brilliance. The aurora borealis is not just a polar phenomenon. It dances further south, huge curtains of green and violet light rippling across the zenith, crackling with electric energy. The magnetic field is in flux, and the solar wind paints the sky with fire. It is beautiful and terrifying. The sky tells its own story. The atmosphere contains less carbon dioxide than today, roughly 180 parts per million compared to our 420. This is one of the reasons the world is so cold. The greenhouse blanket is thinner. The heat escapes more easily into space, but it also means the air is cleaner, clearer. Visibility extends for hundreds of kilometers on a clear day. You can see weather systems approaching from the horizon, vast fronts of grey cloud that take days to arrive. At night, the celestial display is overwhelming. The Milky Way is not a faint smudge, but a brilliant river of light, so bright you can read by it. You can see the Andromeda galaxy with the naked eye, a faint oval smudge in the constellation of that name. Shooting stars are constant, cosmic debris burning up in the atmosphere, tiny fragments of asteroids and comets that rain down perpetually. On rare nights, the sky erupts with meteor storms, hundreds of streaks per hour as the Earth passes through the debris trail of a long-dead comet. Travel east to the edge of the continent. The Atlantic Ocean is grey and turbulent, but the coastline is miles further out than you remember. The English Channel does not exist. It is a wide, verdant valley. A great river flows through it, the combined waters of the Rhine and the Thames, winding its way to the distant sea. This is Doggerland, a lost world. It is rich with life. Red deer graze in the meadows. Wild horses gallop across the plains. Human tribes camp by the river, their fires flickering in the dusk. They hunt with flint spears. They wear furs of fox and reindeer. They know nothing of islands. To them, the world is one continuous land. Doggerland is a paradise compared to the ice-locked north. It is a landscape of rolling hills, a wide river valleys, and scattered woodlands of birch and pine. The river that flows through it is immense, carrying the runoff from half of northern Europe. Its floodplain is kilometers wide, a network of braided channels and marshy islands. This is prime hunting ground. Herds of wild cattle, aurochs, graze here. They are massive animals, the bulls standing nearly 2 meters at the shoulder with long, forward-pointing horns. They are dangerous, aggressive when threatened, but their meat and hide are prized beyond measure. The humans who live here are Cro-Magnon, anatomically modern humans, indistinguishable from you or me if they were cleaned up and dressed in contemporary clothing. But their lives are utterly different. They are nomadic, following the herds, moving with the seasons. They live in temporary shelters made of mammoth bone and hide, or in the mouths of caves. They are master craftspeople. Their flint tools are works of art, precisely napped into elegant spear points and scrapers. They sew tailored clothing from animal skins, using bone needles and sinew thread. They know every edible plant, every medicinal herb, every sign and track of every animal. Their knowledge of the natural world is encyclopedic, passed down through oral tradition, through songs and stories told around the fire. Their social groups are small, perhaps 20 to 50 individuals. Survival depends on cooperation, on trust, on the bonds between family members and allies. They trade over long distances, exchanging flint, ochre, shells, and amber. They have art. They carve figurines from ivory and stone, abstract representations of animals and humans, some erotic, some spiritual. They paint on cave walls, creating galleries deep underground where the images seem to flicker and move in the light of the torches. These paintings are not mere decoration. They are magic. They are ritual. They are a way of communicating with the spirit world, of ensuring the success of the hunt, of honoring the animals that give their lives so that humans may live. Cross the Atlantic, or rather, walk across the ice bridge that spans the north. The ocean is locked away. Sea levels are 120 meters lower. The Caribbean islands are larger, surrounded by vast shallow banks of coral and sand. The Great Barrier Reef is a limestone plain, dry and exposed to the sun. The geography of the planet is swollen. The continents are fat, their shelves exposed. The world feels bigger, more connected. You could walk from France to England. You could walk from Russia to Alaska across the Bering Land Bridge, a subcontinent in itself, a refuge of shrubland and grasses where the bison roam in herds, numbering in the thousands. Beringia, as this land bridge is known, is not a narrow isthmus but a vast territory, perhaps 1,600 kilometers from north to south. It is a refugium, a pocket of relative warmth and productivity in a frozen world. The ice sheets to the east and west trap moisture, leaving Beringia dry but habitable. It is a highway for life, a corridor that allows species to move between continents. Mammoths, horses, camels, and humans all use this route. It is here, perhaps, that the first Americans cross, small bands of hunters following the game, unaware that they are discovering a new world. And in the forests of Europe, the cave bear hibernates. It is a behemoth, 30% larger than a grizzly. It sleeps deep in the limestone caverns of the Pyrenees. The caves are cathedrals of silence. Stalactites drip slowly, measuring out the millennia. The walls are painted, ochre and charcoal, hands, horses, bison, the art of the people who watch the ice. The artists work by the light of burning fat lamps. The smell of burning animal fat is thick and greasy. The smoke curls up to the ceiling, blackening the stone. They are recording their world. They are leaving a message. The caves are sacred spaces. They are the interface between the world of the living and the world of the spirits. The cave bear itself is revered, perhaps even worshipped. Its skull and bones are arranged in deliberate patterns placed on natural stone altars. When a bear dies in hibernation, its body is treated with respect, its bones left undisturbed. The humans who enter these caves do so with trepidation and awe. They leave offerings, they paint their handprints on the walls, a way of saying, "I was here, I am part of this." These handprints, ochre red or charcoal black, are hauntingly direct. They are the fingerprints of individuals who lived and breathed and hoped and feared 20,000 years ago. Touch your hand to the wall beside theirs, and for a moment, the millennia collapse. You are connected. The soundscape of the Ice Age is distinct. Without the roar of engines, without the hum of industry, the natural sounds are amplified. The crack of a glacier carving is like a gunshot that echoes for miles. The howl of the wind is a constant companion, a voice that never stops whispering. The call of a loon on a half-frozen lake carries a haunting melancholy. The roar of a saber-toothed cat, Smilodon, is a terrifying, saw-like rasp that freezes the blood. It is a world of high-fidelity audio. Every snap of a twig means something. Every splash in the water is a signal. Sound travels differently in the cold. It carries further, sharper, with less distortion. You can hear the breathing of a mammoth half a kilometer away. You can hear the whisper of snowflakes landing on the frozen ground. The silence between sounds is not empty. It is pregnant with potential, with the possibility of danger or opportunity. The humans of this time have acute hearing, trained from birth to detect the subtlest auditory clues. They can distinguish the footfalls of different animals by sound alone. They can hear a predator approaching through the crunch of snow, the snap of a branch. Their survival depends on this hyper-awareness, this constant vigilance. In the southern hemisphere, the Andes are buried under ice. The Patagonian ice sheet stretches into the ocean. But in the pockets of green, the megatherium, the giant ground sloth, reaches for the leaves of the tree canopy. It stands 6 meters tall on its hind legs. It is a slow, lumbering giant with claws the size of butcher knives. It has no natural predators when fully grown. It moves with the confidence of a king. The air here is damp and cool, smelling of wet fern and decaying wood. The forests are dense, ancient, untouched by the axe. South America is a continent of giants. Alongside the megatherium, there is the glyptodon, a massive armadillo the size of a small car, covered in a thick, bony carapace. There is the macrochania, a bizarre creature that looks like a cross between a camel and a tapir, with a long neck and a short trunk. There is the toxodon, a hippo-like beast with a rhinoceros build and a disposition to match. These are the megafauna of the southern continents, as impressive and diverse as their northern cousins. The forests here are temperate rainforests, similar to those of modern New Zealand or Tasmania. They are dim, misty places where the sunlight filters down through layers of canopy, turning the air green and watery. Mosses and ferns cover every surface. The trees are immense, southern beeches and podocarps that have stood for centuries. The forest floor is a tangle of fallen logs, slowly rotting, returning their nutrients to the soil. Fungi bloom in fantastic shapes and colors, with some luminescent, glowing softly in the gloom. It is a world that feels primordial, as if time has stopped, as if the Mesozoic never truly ended. The light during the day is blinding. The albedo of the snow reflects 90% of the solar radiation. Snow blindness is a real danger. The indigenous peoples fashion goggles from bone or wood with narrow slits to limit the light. The world is a high-contrast photograph: black rock, white snow, blue sky. There are few mid-tones. The shadows are long and sharp. The sun travels a low arc across the sky, providing little warmth. Even at noon, the heat is feeble. You can feel the cold radiating from the ground, sucking the warmth from your boots. In the high Arctic, during the brief summer, the sun does not set for months. It circles the horizon, a pale, cold disk that provides light but little heat. So the temperature may rise above freezing for a few weeks, and in those weeks, life explodes. The tundra blooms with tiny, bright flowers, Arctic poppies, saxifrages, cushion plants that hug the ground. Insects emerge in clouds, midges, mosquitoes, bees. They are the lifeblood of the summer, pollinating the plants, feeding the birds. Migratory birds arrive in vast flocks, geese and swans and ducks, traveling from southern wintering grounds to breed in the brief abundance of the Arctic summer. They nest on the ground, laying their eggs in shallow scrapes, racing against time to hatch and fledge their young before the cold returns. Imagine the night. The darkness is absolute. No light pollution, no city glow, just the velvety black of space pressing down. The Milky Way is a solid band of light, thick and creamy, arching from horizon to horizon. You can see the dark dust lanes of the galaxy with the naked eye. Meteors streak across the sky constantly, burning up in the thin atmosphere. It is a sky that makes you feel small, insignificant, a sky that demands worship, a sky that tells stories of gods and monsters. And in the winter, the darkness lasts for months. The sun dips below the horizon in October and does not return until February. It is a darkness that is physical, oppressive, a weight that presses down on the psyche. The humans who endure this darkness have strategies. They tell stories, they sing songs, they dance, they create. The long winter nights are when the culture is passed down, when the elders teach the young, when the myths and legends are polished and refined. The darkness is not empty. It is full of voices, full of memory, full of the accumulated wisdom of generations. The water that is liquid is cold and clear. The glacial meltwater is turquoise, filled with rock flour that scatters the light. It is freezing, barely above 0 degrees. To fall in is to die in minutes. The lakes are oligotrophic, low in nutrients, clear, deep, and still. They reflect the mountains like perfect mirrors. In the depths, Arctic char swims slowly, their metabolisms slowed by the cold. Life here is patient. It waits. It endures. These glacial lakes are eerily beautiful. They are often a brilliant blue-green, the color of gemstones caused by the suspended rock flour in the water. They are so clear that you can see down to depths of 30 meters or more. Fish are visible as dark shadows gliding slowly through the cold. On calm days, the surface is a perfect mirror, reflecting the sky and the surrounding peaks with such fidelity that it is difficult to tell where the water ends and the air begins. It is disorienting, hypnotic, a world of doubled reality. In the winter, these lakes freeze solid. The ice is thick, clear as glass at first, then clouded with bubbles and cracks as the temperature drops further. Walking on the ice, you can hear it groan and sing, deep basso notes that vibrate up through your legs. Sometimes the ice cracks with a sound like a rifle shot, a long fracture snaking across the surface. It is unnerving, but the ice is strong, often a meter thick or more, capable of supporting the weight of a mammoth. This is the stage. This is the arena. A world of extremes. A world of beauty and brutality. A world where the margin for error is 0. This is the world that shaped us. This is the forge where humanity was hammered into shape, and this is the world that was reset. The ice melted, the waters rose, the bridge to America drowned, the plains of Doggerland became the sea floor, the woolly giants fell, the silence was broken. But tonight, in your mind, the ice is still there. The wind is still blowing, the mammoth is still walking, and the world is still asleep under a blanket of white. This is the world that tested every aspect of human ingenuity, resilience, and social cohesion. It demanded adaptation, not just in technology, but in psychology, in spirituality, in the very structure of society. Those who survived were not just lucky. They were the ones who could read the landscape, who could cooperate, who could pass knowledge down through generations, who could find meaning and beauty even in the harshest conditions. They are our ancestors. Their blood runs in our veins. Their memories, encoded in myth and dream, still whisper to us across the millennia. The ice may have melted, but its imprint remains, carved into our DNA, etched into the bedrock of human consciousness. We are children of the Ice Age, and we carry its legacy with us, even now, even here, in the warmth and safety of the present moment. And now, we arrive at the turning point, the hinge upon which this entire journey swings. We have walked the ice. We have measured the cold. We have seen the giants. But we must ask the question that lingers in the shadow of the glacier. The question that transforms this from a history lesson into a mystery. What if the end of this world was not a random accident? What if the melt was a manufacture? What if the Ice Age itself was a deliberate civilizational reset? Pause here. Let the weight of that question settle. It challenges the fundamental narrative of our existence. We are told we are a linear progression. Hunter-gatherers, farmers, city builders, industrialists, a straight line up the graph of complexity. But what if the line is a circle? What if we are not the first? What if we are merely the latest in a series of attempts? An attempt that is allowed to flourish for a time, and then, when certain conditions are met, is wiped clean. Consider the implications. If this is true, then every monument we build, every library we fill, every piece of knowledge we accumulate is temporary, provisional, written in sand before an incoming tide. The reset is the tide. It comes with mathematical precision. Every 100,000 years, every cycle of the Milankovitch wobble, the Earth's orbit becomes the doomsday clock, ticking down not in seconds but in millennia. And when the alarm sounds, the ice advances, the water rises, the memory is erased. Why would such a thing happen? Is it a protection mechanism? Does intelligence inevitably lead to self-destruction, and the planetary system, Gaia, if you will, intervenes to save the biosphere? Does the Earth have an immune system that recognizes advanced civilization as a fever, a virus, and the ice is the antibody? The fever breaker, the cold compress applied to a burning planet. Think about how our own bodies work. When we are sick, we develop a fever. The temperature rises to kill the infection. But if the fever gets too high, the body triggers a counter-response. It's sweating, shivering, mechanisms to cool down, to prevent the cure from becoming worse than the disease. Is civilization the fever? Is the industrial explosion, the population boom, the carbon spike, are these the symptoms of planetary infection? And does the Earth, in its ancient wisdom, know how to bring the temperature back down? Not through fire, but through ice. Or is it something darker? A control system? A farm? Are we being managed? Is our progress capped? Just as a gardener prunes a tree to keep it healthy, to keep it within bounds, is humanity pruned by the climate? Whenever we reach a certain height, whenever we build our towers of Babel, the temperature drops, the waters rise, the slate is wiped, and we are forced to start again, reduced to basics, forced to relearn the fire, relearn the stone, relearn the humility of survival. But who is the gardener? Is it an external intelligence? An ancient civilization that seeded this planet and checks in periodically to trim the hedges? Or is it the planet itself, a conscious organism far older and wiser than we can comprehend? Perhaps the Earth is not just our home. Perhaps it is our parent, our teacher. And the lesson it teaches is harsh but necessary. You cannot outgrow your environment. You cannot escape the cycle. You are part of the system, not separate from it. Where did the knowledge go? If there were others before us, where are their plastics, their steel, their concrete? Perhaps they didn't use them. Perhaps their technology was different, organic, sonic, mental. Or perhaps the time is simply too vast. 100,000 years of ice can grind a skyscraper to sand. 10,000 years of jungle can digest a city. We judge the past by the durability of our own creations. But maybe true advancement leaves no trace. Maybe the highest civilization is the one that disappears completely. There is a strange arrogance in assuming that technology must look like ours, that progress must follow the same path: silicon, steel, petroleum. But what if an advanced civilization discovered a different route? What if they learned to manipulate biology instead of machinery? What if their buildings were grown, not built? What if their energy came not from combustion, but from resonance, from tapping into the standing waves of the Earth's electromagnetic field? Such a civilization would leave no landfills, no toxic waste, no plastic in the ocean. When the reset came, they would simply dissolve back into the soil, indistinguishable from nature. This perspective shifts the ground beneath our feet. The anomalies, the pyramids, the Sphinx, the impossible masonry of Peru stop being puzzles and start being remnants. Debris, the few stubborn pieces of the puzzle that refuse to be washed away. They stand as silent witnesses to the reset. Warnings in stone. We were here. We were great. And then the ice came. And what about the myths? Every culture has a flood story. Every culture has a tale of the world that was destroyed and the world that was reborn. The Sumerians spoke of the Anunnaki who survived the deluge. The Hopi speak of the previous worlds, each destroyed in turn. The Hindus speak of the yugas, vast cycles of creation and destruction. Are these just metaphors, campfire stories to explain the thunder, or are they memories? Oral histories passed down through a bottleneck so narrow that only the story survived, not the context? So, as we move forward into the speculation, keep this thought in your mind. What if the story of humanity is not a story of ascent, but a story of cycles? A story of remembering and forgetting. A story of waking up, building a world, and then being put back to sleep. Deep sleep, cryogenic sleep. Until the alarm rings again, until the ice retreats, until the next spring begins. And if this is true, then the question becomes not did it happen, but when will it happen again? Are we approaching the end of this cycle? Are the signs already visible? The melting ice caps, the shifting jet streams, the awakening volcanoes, are these the first symptoms of the planetary mechanism winding up for another turn? Or are we, through our own actions, triggering the very reset we fear? Are we the architects of our own annihilation, unknowingly fulfilling an ancient script written into the bones of the Earth itself? But here is where the story gets truly strange. Here is the detail that might make you open your eyes in the dark. In 2018, a massive impact crater was discovered under the Hiawatha glacier in Greenland. It is 31 kilometers wide. It was hidden under a kilometer of ice. It is fresh. Geologically speaking, it happened yesterday. It is one of the 25 largest impact craters on Earth, and the dating? It aligns almost perfectly with the onset of the Younger Dryas. It aligns with the reset. This is not a theory anymore. There is a hole in the ground, a wound in the crust of the planet, a smoking gun buried under the ice. It means that something did strike us, something massive, something with the power to change the world in an instant. The legends of fire from the sky, the myths of the sun falling, the stories of the great burning, they are not metaphors. They are journalism. They are eyewitness accounts of a planetary assassination attempt. The numbers are staggering. The impactor was likely a kilometer wide, possibly larger. It struck at a velocity of perhaps 20 kilometers per second. That is 72,000 kilometers per hour. The energy released would have been equivalent to thousands of megatons of TNT. The explosion would have vaporized millions of tons of rock and ice instantly. A fireball rose into the stratosphere. The shockwave flattened everything within hundreds of kilometers. The heat pulse ignited forests across the continent. And then, the nuclear winter began. But the strange part is this: the crater was only discovered by accident. A team led by Professor Kurt Keir from the University of Copenhagen was mapping the topography beneath Greenland's ice using airborne radar. They were looking for bedrock features, not expecting to find evidence of a cosmic catastrophe. The circular depression in the bedrock was so perfect, so distinct, that they knew immediately what they were looking at. But how had it remained hidden for so long? How had we missed a scar this massive? The answer is unsettling. The ice hid it. The glacier, that same ice that we study for climate records, for ancient atmospheres, for the history of the planet, it was also concealing the evidence of our near extinction. What else is hidden under the ice? What other craters? What other impacts? What other resets have we not yet discovered? And consider this. The trajectory of the impactor suggests it came from the direction of the Taurid meteor stream, a debris field that Earth passes through twice a year. Some astronomers believe the Taurid stream is the wreckage of a giant comet that broke apart 20,000 years ago, a giant comet that has been bombarding us periodically, a celestial shotgun aimed at Earth. Are we moving through a minefield? Is the reset not a decision, but a schedule? A cosmic timetable of destruction that we are blind to? The Taurid stream is active every year in late October and early November. We see it as a meteor shower, harmless streaks of light in the night sky. But what we are seeing is debris, fragments, the small stuff. The dangerous pieces, the kilometer-wide fragments that can end civilizations, are dark, invisible, hurtling through space on trajectories we can barely predict. We have catalogued less than 5% of the near-Earth objects in the Taurid stream. The rest remain hidden, invisible, waiting. Some researchers propose that we are overdue for another encounter. The orbital dynamics suggest that we pass through the densest part of the Taurid stream on a cycle of approximately 3,000 years. The last dense pass would have been roughly 12,800 years ago, the Younger Dryas, the reset, and if the pattern holds, the next dense pass is approaching. Not tomorrow, not next year, but within the span of our descendants' lifetimes. The cosmic clock is ticking. There is another detail that haunts the researchers. When they drilled into the ice near the Hiawatha crater, they found meltwater, liquid water. At the base of the glacier, the heat from the impact, even after 12,800 years, is still there. The bedrock is still warm. The crater has not cooled completely. It is a wound that has not healed. The Earth remembers the violence. The scar is fresh. Now consider the psychological impact of this discovery. For centuries, we have believed that the Earth changes slowly. Erosion takes millions of years. Mountains rise over eons. Continents drift at the speed of fingernails growing. But the Hiawatha crater tells a different story. It says, the world can change in an instant. Everything you know can end before you finish your next breath. The ground beneath your feet is not as solid as you thought. The discovery of the Hiawatha crater changes the texture of our reality. It adds a physical, tangible weight to the fear. It means the sky can fall. It means the ice can return. It means the safety we feel is an illusion. We are living in a shooting gallery, and the shooter has not left the building. But perhaps in this knowledge, there is also a strange kind of peace. If the reset is cosmic, if it is written in the orbits and the debris fields, then we are not to blame. We are not the architects of our own destruction. We are simply passengers on a rock, moving through a dangerous neighborhood. The Ice Age was not our fault. The next one will not be our fault either. We are at the mercy of forces far larger than ourselves, and there is a humility in that, a surrender, a letting go. So as you drift towards sleep, know that you are safe. For now, the sky is clear, the ice is distant, the Earth spins on its axis, wobbling gently through space, moving through the stream of ancient debris. The cosmic lottery continues, and for tonight, we have won. We are here, we are breathing, we are warm, and that is enough. If this story is carrying you somewhere peaceful, feel free to close your eyes. The narration will guide you. Let us follow this thread. Let us descend the spiral staircase of what if. Let us assume the reset was deliberate. Let us assume it was a mechanism. How would it work? What would happen next? And what does it mean for us? The first step is the trigger. The mechanism activates. Perhaps it is automated. A sensor in the biosphere detects a critical threshold. Carbon dioxide levels? Methane? Or something more subtle? A vibration in the Schumann resonance. A disturbance in the planetary field caused by the collective consciousness of billions of souls. The system trips. The alarm sounds, but it is a silent alarm. It is a signal sent to the sun, or to the magnetic core. And so, the sun dims. Not much, just a fraction of a percent. But enough. The solar wind slackens. The heliosphere, the bubble of protection around the solar system, shrinks. Cosmic rays, high-energy particles from deep space, flood into the inner solar system. They strike the Earth's atmosphere. They create clouds. Massive global cloud cover. The sky turns white. The sunlight is reflected back into space. The global temperature begins to slide. This would mean the end of the harvest. The first year, the summer is cold. The crops fail. The rain turns to sleet. The second year, the snow doesn't melt. It stays on the ground in July. It reflects the sun. The feedback loop begins. The ice sheets, which had been retreating, pause. Then they groan, and they begin to march forward again. The glaciers of the Alps, the Rockies, the Himalayas. They wake up. They begin to consume the valleys. They crush the ski resorts. They bury the mountain towns. Watch how the first decade unfolds. The scientists see it coming. They issue warnings. Models predict the cascade. But the world is slow to react. Political leaders argue about whose responsibility it is. Economic systems prioritize quarterly profits over century-long survival. The public is confused, bombarded by contradictory information. Some say it's a natural cycle. Some say it's too late. Some say there's still time. The debate rages while the temperature drops. Our agricultural zones shift southward. Canada becomes the new breadbasket, but only briefly. The infrastructure isn't there. The soil is unprepared. Yields are a fraction of what they were in Kansas or Ukraine. Food prices skyrocket. Nations begin hoarding grain. Export bans are enacted. The global supply chain, so finely tuned to efficiency, has no redundancy for catastrophe. Supermarket shelves empty in days. Panic buying becomes looting. Governments declare martial law. Over the next 100 years, the panic sets in. The coastal cities are safe from the ice, but not from the hunger. The breadbaskets of the world, the Midwest, the Ukraine, the Pampas, become tundra. Grain production collapses. The global economy freezes. Migration begins. A desperate flood of humanity moving towards the equator, moving towards the last warmth. But the equator is drying up. The rains have stopped. The monsoon has failed. The tropical rainforests are turning into savannas. There is nowhere to go. Borders close. Walls are built. Nations that once preached humanitarian values now turn refugees away at gunpoint. The Mediterranean becomes a graveyard. Boats of desperate families capsize in the frozen waters. The same story plays out at every border. The haves versus the have-nots. The warm versus the cold. The armed versus the unarmed. Humanity reveals its darkest face when resources dwindle. The veneer of civilization is thinner than we ever imagined, and so the population crash begins. It is not a war, It is a fading, a slow starvation, a succumbance to the cold. The complex networks of trade and power disintegrate. The satellites fail for lack of maintenance. The internet goes dark, server by server. The lights go out. The grid collapses under the weight of the ice storms. We return to the local, to the village, to the tribe, to the family. The knowledge of how to build a microchip is lost. The knowledge of how to build a fire becomes the most valuable currency on Earth. Languages die. Not the major ones at first, but the minority tongues. The Tibetan dialects, the Aboriginal languages, the small Pacific Island languages. There are fewer and fewer people to speak them. The oral traditions that took thousands of years to develop vanish in a single generation. The songs that encoded navigation routes, medicinal knowledge, and astronomical observations, all lost. The elders die in the cold, and with them goes the accumulated wisdom of the ages. The reset is not just physical, it is cultural. It is intellectual, it is spiritual. 1,000 years later, the cities are gone. The glass skyscrapers have shattered from the thermal stress. The steel has rusted and crumbled. The concrete has been pulverized by the freeze-thaw cycle. The ice sheet covers New York, London, Berlin, Moscow. They are crushed under 2 miles of ice. There is no trace they ever existed. Only the finest dust in the glacial moraine contains the chemical signature of our plastics. Our legacy is a layer of strange molecules in the sediment. The nuclear power plants, left unattended, have melted down, but the ice has sealed them. The radiation is contained, frozen in place, waiting for the thaw that may never come. The spent fuel pools have boiled dry and then frozen solid. They are time bombs embedded in the glacier, are ticking down the half-lives of cesium and plutonium. When the ice melts, if it melts, these poisons will leach into the ocean. The reset does not erase our mistakes. It only postpones the reckoning. The survivors are few. They live in the refugia, the pockets of habitability, perhaps in the rift valleys of Africa, perhaps in the caves of the Mediterranean, now a series of lakes. They have forgotten the internet. They have forgotten the moon landings. They tell stories of the golden age, the time when men flew in the bellies of silverbirds, the time when we spoke to each other through magic mirrors. These stories become myths. They become religion. The silverbirds become angels. The magic mirrors become the eyes of gods. 5,000 years later, the ice is at its maximum. The sea levels have dropped 120 meters. The continental shelves are exposed again. The ruins of our coastal cities, Miami, Tokyo, Shanghai, are now inland ruins, half buried in dunes, picked over by scavengers who do not know what they are looking at. A rusted ship's hull is a fortress. A bank vault is a temple. The world is quiet. The roar of the Anthropocene is over. The silence of the Pleistocene has returned. And so, a new species of human begins to emerge, selected by the cold. Stronger, more telepathic. Perhaps, without the noise of digital technology, maybe our dormant senses reawaken. We learn to listen to the wind again. We learn to feel the magnetic field. We learn to communicate without words. The reset has worked. It has stripped away the artifice. It has returned us to our biological core. We are animals again, noble animals. We're in balance with the predator and the prey. These new humans have adapted in ways we would not recognize. Their bodies are stockier, conserving heat more efficiently. Their lungs are larger, adapted to the thin, cold air. Their eyes have changed too, capable of seeing in the perpetual twilight of the Ice Age world. They can detect the subtle shifts in the aurora that signal changes in the weather. They navigate by the stars with an accuracy that would shame our GPS systems. They are less individualistic, more communal. The lone wolf dies in the cold. Only the pack survives. Their spirituality is different too. They worship the sun as a distant, fickle god. They worship the fire as the earthly manifestation of divine warmth. They have rituals for the solstice, marking the moment when the sun begins its slow return towards the northern sky. These rituals are not mere symbolism. They are survival tools. They mark time. They maintain social cohesion. They give meaning to the suffering. Without meaning, there is only despair. And despair is a death sentence in the ice. 10,000 years later, the cycle prepares to flip again. The trigger resets. The sun wakes up. The magnetic field stabilizes. The ice begins to melt. The great floods come. The deluge happens again. The survivors on the coast are washed away. The evidence of the interglacial civilization is drowned, and the cycle starts anew. The survivors crawl out of the caves. They look at the greening world. They plant the first seeds. They build the first stone circles to mark the sun. And they wonder, are we the first? But the story doesn't end there. If this is a cycle, if this is a deliberate system, who is the architect? Is it a Type 3 civilization? An alien intelligence that uses Earth as a laboratory? A petri dish? They seed us. They watch us grow. They harvest our creativity, our art, our unique emotional spectrum. And then, when the culture becomes stagnant or dangerous, they sterilize the dish. They freeze it, and they start a new culture, a new strain, or perhaps the architect is us, future us, humanity from 1,000,000 years in the future, reaching back through time, terraforming the past, managing their own timeline, ensuring that we don't destroy the planet before they can be born. They send the asteroids, they tweak the sun. They are the guardians of the timeline. The Ice Age is a chronal intervention, a course correction to steer the ship of history away from the rocks. Consider the possibility of the Silurian hypothesis, the idea that an industrial civilization existed on Earth millions of years ago. Maybe reptiles, maybe something else. They faced the same trap. They grew, they consumed, they triggered a reset, and they vanished. Are we walking on the bones of 1,000 civilizations? Is the oil we burn the remains of their bodies? Is the coal the remains of their forests? Are we burning our predecessors to fuel our own race to the cliff edge? The spiral goes deeper. What if the ice is not just a destroyer, but a preserver? A library? What if the DNA of every species is stored in the ice? What if the memories of the planet are frozen in the water structure? Water has memory, some fringe scientists claim. If so, the ice caps are the hard drives of the Earth. When they melt, the information is released, the floods of knowledge. Maybe that's why civilization explodes after an ice age. We are drinking the melted wisdom of the past. We are literally consuming the history of the world in the water we drink. The reset is a backup cycle, data storage, archive mode. And what if the reset is incomplete? What if some survive who shouldn't? The elites, the gods, those who knew it was coming. They build the bunkers, they build the arks. Deep underground, under the mountains, in Antarctica. They sleep through the long winter. Cryogenic suspension, or just generation ships buried in the crust. When the ice melts, they emerge. They have the technology. They have the knowledge. To the primitive survivors, they appear as gods. They teach agriculture. They teach astronomy. They build the pyramids. They jumpstart the new cycle. The civilizing heroes of mythology, Osiris, Quetzalcoatl, Viracocha, they are the waking sleepers, the remnants of the previous turn of the wheel. This would explain the out-of-place artifacts, the Antikythera mechanism, the Baghdad battery, the Piri Reis map showing Antarctica without ice, glitches in the matrix, tools left behind by the teachers, evidence that the timeline is not a straight arrow but a tangled knot, a loop. We are stuck in a time loop. We build, we are destroyed, we forget, we build again. Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the mountain of history only to have it roll back down in an avalanche of snow. Imagine the psychological toll of this genetic memory. We are born with a fear of the sudden end. We are born with a sense of precariousness. It drives our greed. It drives our need to accumulate, to build walls, to stockpile. Because deep down in the lizard brain, in the part of us that remembers the cold, we know winter is coming. We know the good times are a fluke. We are traumatized by a catastrophe we don't remember but cannot forget. This fear manifests in strange ways. Why do we hoard toilet paper during a crisis? Why do we panic buy when shelves are full? Why do we build walls between nations when cooperation would serve us better? Perhaps it's because we carry the memory of scarcity, of the last meal, of the last warm place, of watching others die while we survived. The survivor's guilt that spans millennia. We are the descendants of those who took the food from someone else's mouth, who claimed the warm cave, who turned away the stranger in the snow. We carry that shame in our mitochondria. This perspective changes how we look at the night sky. We don't just see stars, we see the clock. We watch the procession. We measure the wobble. We are looking for the sign that the summer is over, the sign that the landlord is coming to evict us. The ancients were obsessed with the sky for a reason, not for agriculture, but for survival. They were watching for the hammer. The megalithic structures, Stonehenge, Newgrange, the medicine wheels of the plains, they are not temples, they are early warning systems, astronomical computers built from stone. They track the solar cycles, the lunar cycles, the precession of the equinoxes. They are designed to detect the first signs of the next reset. The builders knew something. They encoded it in stone because stone survives the ice. They left us a message. Watch the sky, count the days, prepare. And so, the spiral brings us back to the present. To the climate change of today. We fear the warming, we fear the fire. But what if the warming is the trigger for the cooling? The influx of fresh water from the melting ice shuts down the Atlantic current. The heat transport stops. The paradox of global warming is that it causes a local ice age in the north. We are pushing the button. We are tripping the wire. We are the agents of our own reset, unwittingly fulfilling the cycle. But here is the twist. What if we are aware this time? What if we see it coming? What if this awareness is itself part of the cycle? Perhaps we are meant to remember. Perhaps the reset only happens to civilizations that forget. And maybe, just maybe, by remembering the ice, by respecting the cycle, by honoring the cold, we can break the loop. We can step off the wheel. We can choose a different path. Or perhaps not. Perhaps awareness changes nothing. Perhaps the cycle is as inevitable as the sunrise. Perhaps we are like the mayfly, born at dawn, convinced the sun will shine forever, dying at dusk, never knowing that night is just another phase of the eternal rotation. Our consciousness, our technology, our art, all of it just foam on the wave of deep time. Beautiful, ephemeral, meaningless in the long run. And yet we continue. We build, we love, we create. Because what else can we do? The reset may come, the ice may return. But for now, we have this moment, this breath, this warmth, and in this moment we are alive. We are conscious. We are witnesses to the grand, mysterious unfolding of the cosmos. And that, perhaps, is enough. That, perhaps, is everything. Now, let the timeline dissolve completely. Let us drift into a dream, a vision of a world where the reset happens now. Or perhaps a world where the reset never stopped. Let us project into the deep future or into an alternate present where the ice reigns supreme. Imagine a world of white silence. The year is indeterminate. It is simply after. The great cities of the 21st century are gone. They are the old grey places, buried under the eternal snow. The sky is a pale milky violet, shimmering with ice crystals. The sun is a white disk, haloed by sundogs, rainbow arcs that bracket the light. It is beautiful. It is deadly. It is still. In this world, humanity has changed. We are no longer the masters of the surface. We have become the children of the geothermal. We live in the warmth, massive domed cities built into the sides of volcanoes. Iceland is the capital of the world. The Yellowstone caldera is a metropolis. We harness the heat of the earth to survive the cold of the sky. The air inside the domes is humid, smelling of ferns and moss. Outside, the wind howls at 100 kilometers per hour, carrying shards of ice that could cut glass. The domes are marvels of engineering and art. They are constructed from layers of ice itself, compressed and fused into a substance harder than steel yet transparent as glass. Light filters through them in soft, diffused waves, casting everything in a gentle blue glow. Gardens grow inside, tiered vertical farms where we cultivate mushrooms and algae, bioluminescent plants that glow like stars in the perpetual twilight. The children play in the mist, with their laughter echoing off the curved walls. They have never seen the surface. They have no concept of the open sky. To them, the dome is the universe entire. We travel not by road, but by glider. Magnetic levitation trains that run inside evacuated tubes buried deep in the ice. We shoot through the dark, through the body of the glacier, from one heat island to another. We are a subterranean species. We have pale skin, large eyes. We speak in soft tones, for the acoustics of the tunnels carry sound for miles. We are a quiet people, a thoughtful people. The frenetic energy of the hot age is gone. We have learned patience from the stone. The journey through the glider tubes is meditative. You sit in silence, surrounded by the translucent walls through which you can dimly see the compressed layers of ice. Each layer a year, a century, an epoch. The ice glows faintly from within, lit by chemiluminescent bacteria that we have bred to live in the frozen matrix. The gliders move without sound, without vibration, a smooth passage through a solid medium. It feels like traveling through the body of time itself. You close your eyes and feel the weight of the ice pressing down from above, the heat of the earth radiating from below, and you are suspended between these two forces, a whisper of consciousness in the cold cathedral of the planet. On the surface, the new megafauna roam. The snow striders. Evolution has worked fast. They are descendants of the polar bears, but massive, 10 meters tall, walking on long stilt-like legs to keep their bodies above the drifting snow. They have thick, white fur that is transparent, are trapping the sunlight like fiber optics to warm their black skin. They move in slow motion, grazing on the sky lichen that grows on the highest ice pinnacles. They are gentle giants. We watch them from our viewing ports. We worship them as the spirits of the white. There are other creatures too. The ice serpents, descendants of seals, elongated and sinuous, capable of boring through snow with spiraling movements, hunting the smaller mammals that burrow beneath the surface. The frosthawks evolved from ravens with wingspans of 5 meters, their feathers coated in a crystalline sheath that reflects the aurora, making them appear like living prisms in flight. They nest in the abandoned ruins, in the skeletal towers of the old grey places, and from there they watch the world with eyes that see in infrared, hunting the warm blood beneath the cold blanket. And then there are the whisper foxes, small, quick, nearly invisible against the snow. They have developed a symbiotic relationship with humanity. They enter the domes through small airlock tunnels we leave open for them. They bring us news from the outside, dead insects, frozen birds, scraps of lichen, offerings that we study to understand the changing conditions of the surface. In return, we feed them. They sleep by our fires. They are the only wild creatures that choose to stay with us. They are the bridge between the two worlds. The oceans are covered in sea ice, kilometers thick. But beneath the ice, in the black pressurized depths, a different civilization thrives. The cetacean ascendancy. The whales and dolphins, free from human interference, free from the noise of ships, have evolved. Their songs have become complex languages, They have an oral history that spans 1,000,000 years. They are the philosophers of the deep. They communicate with us through the ice using low-frequency vibrations. We trade music with them. We send them symphonies of cello and bass. They send us songs of the currents and the thermal vents. The exchanges with the cetaceans are sacred events. We gather in the listening chambers, rooms carved into the ice at the interface between the frozen ocean and the bedrock. The walls are lined with resonating crystals that amplify the whale songs. When they sing, the entire chamber vibrates. You feel the music in your bones, in your teeth, in the fluid of your inner ear. It is a music that predates language, a mathematics of emotion, a poetry of frequency. They sing of the deep trenches, of the volcanic vents where the earth bleeds heat into the cold ocean, of the vast underwater forests of kelp that grow in the twilight zones, of the ancient shipwrecks that have become reefs, ecosystems, monuments to the world that was. We have learned their language, or at least fragments of it. We have linguists who dedicate their entire lives to understanding a single phrase. The whales speak in chords, in harmonies, in rhythms that span hours. A single thought can take days to express, but when understood, the depth of meaning is staggering. They do not think in terms of individuals, but in terms of pods, of species, of the ocean as a single living entity. They remember the warm seas. They remember the time before the ice. And they tell us, the ocean is patient, the ocean is waiting, the ice is temporary, the water is eternal. In the equatorial belt, a narrow strip of land remains habitable on the surface. This is the green zone. It is a ring of intense jungle shrouded in perpetual mist. Here, the remnants of the old biodiversity fight for space. It is a hyper-competitive ecosystem. Plants grow visibly by the hour. Insects are the size of hawks. It is a dangerous, vibrant, screaming explosion of life. We do not go there. It is the forbidden garden, the engine of evolution that must not be disturbed. But we watch the green zone from orbit. We have satellites, solar-powered, encased in ice-resistant shells that circle the planet and send us images of the equatorial chaos. The jungles there are almost alien. Trees grow to impossible heights, their trunks as wide as city blocks, their canopies forming layers upon layers of ecosystems. There are creatures there that have never been catalogued, species that emerge and go extinct within a century, the pace of evolution accelerated by the pressure, the heat, the moisture. It is a cauldron of life, a reminder of what the Earth can produce when unconstrained by cold, by ice, by the patient hand of the glaciers. Some believe the green zone is sentient, that the jungle has developed a collective intelligence, a network of roots and fungal mycelium that spans the entire ring, communicating chemically, electrically, thinking in timescales of seasons and storms. There are stories of explorers who ventured too close and were absorbed, not violently, but gently, seduced by the warmth, by the abundance, by the vibrant chaos. They simply walked into the mist and never returned. We find their equipment later, overgrown, digested, are incorporated into the biomass. The jungle does not reject, it assimilates. Our technology is crystalline. We have abandoned metal. Metal is brittle in the cold. We grow our machines from silicate crystals. They are transparent, glowing with internal light. They store data in the lattice of the atoms. Our libraries are shards of diamond. Our computers are blocks of quartz. We are the crystal age. We have achieved a harmony with the mineral world. We do not mine, we cultivate. We grow our cities like geodes. The process of crystal cultivation is slow, deliberate, almost meditative. We seed the growth with specific molecular templates, introduce trace minerals to guide the structure, and then we wait. A computer crystal might take a decade to grow. A library crystal might take a century, but once formed, they are eternal. They do not degrade, they do not require power. The data is encoded in the very structure of the crystal lattice, readable by light, by resonance, by touch. When you hold a library crystal, you can feel the weight of the information inside it, a subtle warmth, a vibration. It is not metaphor, it is physics. Information has mass, thought has substance. Our cities are grown outward from a central seed, layer by layer, chamber by chamber, following geometric patterns that minimize material while maximizing strength. They resemble geodes, yes, but also honeycombs, fractals, the branching patterns of trees and lungs and rivers. They are organic architecture, living spaces that breathe, that adapt, that respond to the needs of the inhabitants. The walls are never cold, they are warm to the touch, are heated by the geothermal veins that run through them like blood vessels. The light is soft, diffused, never harsh. It is a womb of stone and crystal protecting us from the endless winter outside. Sleep is different here. We hibernate. During the long dark, the winter that lasts for years, we enter a state of torpor. We slow our hearts, we lower our body temperature, we dream together. A shared collective dream space. The noosphere. In this dream, we build worlds without cold. We fly, we swim in warm oceans, we live entire lifetimes in the span of a winter. When we wake, we are refreshed. We have lived 1,000 lives in the dark. The noosphere is our greatest achievement and our greatest mystery. It is not virtual reality. It is something deeper. When we enter the long dark, we lie down in the hibernation chambers, our bodies swaddled in biothermal wraps that regulate our temperature, slow our metabolism, preserve our flesh. And then, as consciousness fades from the waking world, it rises into the shared space. The noosphere is not a place, it is a state, a resonance. All minds dreaming in synchrony, their thoughts interweaving, their memories pooling, their imaginations collaborating to build entire worlds. In the noosphere, you are not alone. You are never alone. You can feel the presence of every other dreamer, a vast choir of consciousness humming in harmony. You can visit the dreams of your ancestors, walk through their memories, feel their joys and sorrows. You can collaborate on impossible projects, building cities of light, composing symphonies of color, painting with time itself. You can live a lifetime as a bird, as a whale, as a tree. You can experience the world from perspectives that do not exist in waking reality. And when you wake, you bring back fragments, ideas, inspirations, solutions to problems that seemed unsolvable. The noosphere is our collective unconscious made manifest. It is the dream of the species. We have a legend of the blue star, the belief that one day the sun will warm again, the ice will retreat, and we will have to leave our domes. We fear this day. We call it the burning. We tell our children to beware the heat, to beware the unshielded sun. To us, the ice is safety. The ice is home. The ice is the blanket that protects us from the chaotic, burning void of the universe. The prophecy of the blue star is ancient, passed down through the oral tradition, encoded in our myths, our art, our rituals. Some say it will happen in 10,000 years. Some say it is already beginning. They point to the subtle changes, the thinning of the ice in certain regions, the retreat of the glaciers by a few centimeters per year, the lengthening of the summer by a few days per century. These are slow changes, imperceptible within a single lifetime, but over generations they accumulate. And they terrify us, because if the ice melts, we will lose our cities, the domes will collapse, the heat will invade. And we will be forced to return to the surface, to live under the naked sky, to face the unfiltered radiation of a sun that we have come to see as an enemy. Sometimes explorers go to the surface, the ice walkers. They wear suits of aerogel, light as air, insulating against absolute zero. They walk across the frozen Atlantic. On they seek the ruins of the old ones. They find the tip of the Eiffel Tower sticking out of the snow, a rusted claw reaching for the sky. They find the statue of Liberty's torch, a meaningless symbol in a world without immigrants, without nations. They touch these artifacts with reverence and pity. Pity for the people who lived in the burning open. Pity for the people who did not know the peace of the ice. The ice walkers are a revered caste, part explorer, part archaeologist, part pilgrim. They train for years before their first surface expedition. They must learn to navigate by the stars, by the aurora, by the subtle features of the ice. They must learn to endure the silence, the isolation, the weight of the sky pressing down, and they must learn to resist the call. The call is what we name the strange compulsion that sometimes seizes surface explorers, the urge to remove the suit, to expose oneself to the cold, to merge with the ice. Some say it is hypothermia-induced hallucination. Others say it is the planet itself, calling the human soul back into the mineral matrix, back into the cycle. Many ice walkers do not return. They are found later, frozen in place, their faces serene, at peace, as if they have finally come home. The artifacts they retrieve from the old grey places are displayed in our crystal museums. A corroded smartphone, its screen cracked but still faintly visible. A child's toy, a small plastic figure, bright colours faded but recognizable. A book, pages fused together by ice and time, illegible but precious. We do not understand half of what we find, but we preserve everything. Because these are the remnants of the ancestors, the people who lived in the age of fire, the age of chaos, the age of speed. We study them to understand what we have lost and what we have gained. The sky is a canvas of constant aurora. The magnetic field is unstable, so the lights never stop. Great ribbons of neon pink, electric blue, and emerald green. They hum, a visual music. We navigate by them. We read the mood of the sun in the colors of the sky. When the sky turns red, we retreat deep underground. When it turns blue, we venture out. We are the children of the lights. The aurora has become our calendar, our clock, our scripture. Different colors mean different things. Green is the most common, indicating normal solar activity, safe conditions, a calm day. Blue indicates increased solar wind, are charged particles streaming through the magnetosphere. On blue days, we are cautious. We limit surface activity. We check our radiation dosimeters. Purple is rare and beautiful, indicating a magnetic storm, a geomagnetic substorm, a flux of energy that can damage unshielded electronics, disrupt communication, but also create breathtaking displays that last for hours, cascading waves of light that seem to pour down from the stars like waterfalls of fire. And then there is red. Red is the warning. Red means solar flare, coronal mass ejection, a blast of plasma hurtling through space at millions of kilometers per hour. When the sky turns red, we seal the domes. We retreat to the deepest chambers. We wait in the dark, in silence, as the storm rages above, invisible to the eye but deadly to exposed flesh. The red aurora is both terrifying and hypnotic. It pulses, throbs, like the heartbeat of a dying star. And when it fades, we emerge slowly, cautiously, checking for damage, for casualties, for the scars left by the sun's rage. There are others out there, the frost nomads, humans who rejected the domes. They adapted biologically, they have thick fur, they have layers of blubber, they hunt the snow striders, they live in igloos of translucent ice. They are wild. Free. They look at us in our crystal caves with contempt. They are the true inheritors of the reset. They have become one with the cold. They are the yetis of legend, made real, made human. We encounter the frost nomads rarely, but when we do, it is always unsettling. They are large, powerfully built, their bodies shaped by generations of adaptation to the cold. Their skin is pale, almost blue, thick with subcutaneous fat. Their eyes are small, deep-set, protected by heavy brow ridges and thick lashes that prevent ice formation. They speak a language we barely recognize, a guttural, rhythmic tongue that sounds more like the wind than human speech. They trade with us occasionally, offering pelts, ice cores from remote regions, samples of strange organisms they find in the deep snow. In return, they accept only tools: knives, ropes, fire starters. They refuse technology. They refuse shelter. To them, the domes are prisons, and perhaps they are right. And deep in the ice, we find the sleepers, the ones from the time before, perfectly preserved. We do not wake them. We leave them in their blue tombs. They are the museum exhibits, the cautionary tales. Their faces are frozen in expressions of surprise. Surprise at the sudden end of their warm, comfortable world. We look at them and see ourselves. We see the fragility of existence. We light a candle for them, a heatless, chemical light, and we move on. The sleepers haunt us. Sometimes we find them in groups, an entire office frozen at their desks, computers still glowing faintly from battery power that will last another 1,000 years. A family huddled together in a basement, waiting for rescue that never came. A traffic jam of vehicles, their occupants still inside, hands on steering wheels, eyes staring forward into the blizzard that never stopped. These scenes are more disturbing than skeletal remains. Because the sleepers look alive. They look like they might wake up at any moment, blink, ask what happened. But they never will. They are statues of flesh. They are warnings carved in biology. They say, "This could be you. This will be you." All things end. All warmth fades. Only the cold endures. This reality feels heavy, slow, viscous. Time moves differently when the world is frozen. There is no rush. There is no decay. Things last forever. A footprint in the snow stays for a century. A thought lasts for a millennium. It is a world of preservation, of memory. A world where nothing is ever truly lost, only covered. It is a peaceful world, a silent world, a world waiting. Waiting for the cycle to turn. Waiting for the inevitable thaw. But for now, we sleep. And in this sleep, there is a strange comfort, a surrender to forces larger than ourselves, a release from the tyranny of progress, of growth, of constant change. In the Ice Age, there is stasis. There is reflection. There is time, endless, patient time, to think, to dream, to become. We are no longer racing towards some imagined future. We are simply here, now, in the cold, in the silence, in the white cathedral of the frozen world. And perhaps this is what the reset was always meant to achieve. Not destruction, but pause. Not ending, but transition. Not death, but deep, deep sleep. Until the alarm rings, until the sun warms, until the ice remembers how to melt. But for now, in this eternal moment, we rest. And so we return from the dream. We return from the ice. We find ourselves back in the gentle warmth of the present. But perhaps the room feels a little different now. Perhaps the silence has a texture. Perhaps the darkness outside your window feels deeper, more pregnant with possibility. We have traveled through the science, or the speculation and the dream. We have asked the question, was it a reset? And we have found no definitive answer. Only echoes, only shadows, only the immense indifferent beauty of the geological cycles. But maybe the answer lies not in the rocks, but in us. Maybe the reset is a metaphor for our own internal seasons. We all have our ice ages. We all have times when our world freezes over, when the sun seems distant, when growth stops, when we are forced to retreat into our own caves, to survive, to endure, to wait for the warmth to return. These winters of the soul are not punishments. They are necessary. They are the reset buttons of the psyche. In the silence of the winter, we shed what is not needed. We let go of the leaves that have died. We concentrate our energy in the roots. We prepare for the next spring. Without the winter, there can be no bloom. Without the pause, there can be no music. The ice is not the end. It is the comma, the breath between the words. Consider how nature teaches this lesson everywhere. The tree in winter appears dead, but beneath the bark, the sap still flows, slow and patient, carrying the memory of spring within its cellular structure. The bear hibernates, its heartbeat slowing to a whisper, its body temperature dropping, yet it is not dying. It is simply resting, conserving, waiting. The seed lies dormant in the frozen ground, and to the casual observer, it seems lifeless, yet within that small package is coiled the entirety of a forest, waiting only for the right conditions to unfold. We forget this rhythm in our modern lives. We are taught to be perpetually active, perpetually growing, perpetually producing. But this is not the way of nature. This is not the way of the cosmos. Everything pulses, everything breathes. There is expansion and contraction. There is waking and sleeping. There is summer and winter. To deny the winter is to deny half of existence. To fear the reset is to fear rest itself. The earth teaches us patience. It teaches us that time is long, that catastrophes are temporary, that life is resilient. The mammoth falls, but the DNA remains. The city falls, but the stone remains. The civilization falls, but the human spirit remains. We are the survivors. We are the ones who walked out of the ice. We carry the strength of 10,000 winters in our bones. We are tougher than we think. We are more ancient than we know. Your ancestors survived conditions you cannot imagine. They survived cold that would kill you in minutes. They survived hunger that would drive modern humans to madness. They survived darkness, isolation, the loss of entire communities to the unforgiving elements. And yet they continued. They told stories around the fire. They sang songs to keep the darkness at bay. They carved beauty into bone and stone. They loved. They raised children. They passed on their knowledge. They survived not just physically, but spiritually. And because they did, you are here now. That strength is in you. That patience is in you. That capacity to endure, to wait, to trust in the return of the light. It is encoded in every cell of your body. You are not weak. You are not fragile. You are the product of an unbroken chain of survivors stretching back millions of years. Every single one of your ancestors survived long enough to reproduce. Every single one. You are the living tip of an evolutionary arrow that has pierced through ice ages, volcanic eruptions, plagues, famines, and the endless, grinding challenge of simply existing on this planet. You are here because you come from a line of champions. Think of the snowflake. Perfect, crystalline, unique. Born of the cold, it falls, it melts, it becomes water. It flows to the sea, it evaporates, it becomes cloud. It falls again. The cycle is endless. We are like the water, changing form, changing state. But the essence remains. The consciousness flows on through the ice ages, through the greenhouse ages, through the ages of stone and the ages of crystal. Water is the memory of the planet. It has been recycled through the biosphere for billions of years. The water in your body right now has been part of clouds, oceans, rivers, glaciers, dinosaurs, ancient forests, and countless other humans throughout history. You are drinking the same water that Cleopatra drank, that Jesus drank, that the mammoths drank. You are part of the great circulatory system of the planet, and nothing is ever truly lost. Everything transforms, everything returns. You are not separate from nature. You are nature experiencing itself. As you lie here, drifting towards sleep, remember the safety of the cycle. You are held by a planet that knows how to regulate itself. You are part of a system that is vast and wise. The cold is just a blanket. The dark is just a curtain. Behind it all, the life force pulses, steady, rhythmic, eternal. Let the anxiety of the linear time fade away. The need to progress, the need to get somewhere. There is nowhere to get to. There is only the cycle, one of the round dance of the cosmos. You are exactly where you need to be. In this moment, in this breath, in this warmth. Feel your body sinking into the mattress. Feel the weight of your limbs, heavy and relaxed. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest as you breathe. This breath you are taking now, it is the same air that has circulated through the lungs of every living thing. You are breathing the exhalation of trees. You are breathing the ancient atmosphere, recycled and renewed. Each breath connects you to the web of life, to the great respiration of the planet. You are never alone. You are always held. The ice may come again, or it may not. It does not matter. For now, you are safe. You are warm. You are here. The ancient guardians, the mammoths, the glaciers, the stars, they are watching over you. They are the sentinels of the deep time. They have seen it all before, and they whisper to you now, rest, sleep, all is well. Imagine the cosmos as a vast, slow symphony. The stars are burning, but they burn for billions of years. The galaxies are spinning, but they spin so slowly that entire civilizations rise and fall in the space between one rotation and the next. The universe is in no hurry. It has all the time in the world, literally. And you are part of that unhurried unfolding. You do not need to rush. You do not need to force. You can simply be, simply exist, simply rest in the knowledge that you are exactly where the universe needs you to be at this moment. The questions dissolve, the theories fade, the mind slows down, the breathing deepens. You are floating on a raft of calm in a sea of time. The current is gentle. The destination is dreams. The world is vast and mysterious, and you are a part of its mystery. A spark of consciousness in the grand, silent theater of the universe. Let go of the need to understand. Let go of the need to control. Let go of the fear of the unknown. The universe has been operating for 13.8 billion years without your guidance, and it will continue to operate just fine while you sleep. The earth will keep spinning. The moon will keep circling. The tides will keep flowing. The seasons will keep changing. You can release your grip. You can trust the process. You can surrender to the deep, ancient rhythms that govern all things. There is a kind of peace that comes from recognizing your place in the vastness. Not a small, insignificant place, but a perfect place. You are not too small. You are exactly the right size. Your human being is the perfect bridge between the quantum and the cosmic. You are made of stardust, yet you can contemplate the stars. You are a temporary arrangement of atoms, yet you can experience love, awe, wonder, joy. You are a brief candle flame in the darkness, yet you illuminate the universe by your very existence. For the universe cannot know itself without consciousness, and you are that consciousness. You are the universe waking up and looking at itself in the mirror. So rest easy. Your job is not to solve the mystery. Your job is simply to witness it, to be present for the unfolding, to experience this strange, beautiful, terrifying, magnificent existence, to feel the warmth of the sun, the coolness of the water, the texture of stone, the softness of sleep, to love and be loved, to wonder and to dream. This is enough. This has always been enough. The ice ages will come and go. Civilizations will rise and fall. Stars will be born and die. But the essence, the fundamental ground of being, the consciousness that witnesses it all, that continues. That flows like water through all forms, all times, all places. And you are that. Not just in some abstract mystical sense, but in the most concrete physical sense. The atoms that make up your body right now will one day be scattered across the cosmos, becoming part of new stars, new planets, new forms of life. You are not a thing that will end. You are a process that will continue forever, changing form but never truly dying. Let this thought bring you comfort. Let it ease the tight grip of ego, the fear of death, the anxiety of impermanence. Everything changes, yes, but nothing is lost. Everything transforms. And in the grand accounting of the cosmos, every atom is precious, every moment is sacred, every life, including yours, matters infinitely. As sleep approaches, feel yourself dissolving into the larger whole. Feel the boundaries of your individual self becoming permeable, porous, transparent. You are not separate from the world around you. You are continuous with it. Your skin is not a barrier, but a membrane, an interface where the inner and outer worlds meet and exchange. The air you breathe becomes part of you. The food you eat becomes part of you. The light that strikes your retina becomes part of your neural activity, your experience, your consciousness. You are always in relationship, always in dialogue with the universe. You are never isolated, never truly alone. And in your sleep, you will continue this dialogue. Your dreams will weave together memories, sensations, symbols, creating new patterns, new connections, new meanings. Your unconscious mind will process the experiences of the day, integrating them into the larger story of your life. Your body will repair itself, growing new cells, healing old wounds, maintaining the complex machinery of your biology without any conscious effort from you. Sleep is not an absence. It is a different kind of presence, a deeper kind of work, a sacred kind of rest. So let go now. Let the conscious mind release its grip. Let the thoughts slow down, fade out, drift away like clouds dissolving in the evening sky. Let your awareness sink down into the body, into the breath, into the heartbeat, into the deeper rhythms of existence that require no effort, no attention, no control. You are safe here. You are home here. This moment, this breath, this gentle descent into sleep. This is where you belong. The story of the Ice Age, the story of the reset, the story of civilizations rising and falling, these are just stories. Beautiful stories, meaningful stories. But in the end, just stories. What is real is this: the warmth of your bed, the softness of your pillow, the quiet of the night, the gentle darkness that invites you to rest. This is what is true. This is what matters. And when you wake, the world will still be here. The sun will rise, the birds will sing. The earth will continue its ancient dance around the star that gives us life. And you will have been refreshed, renewed, reset in your own way. Not erased, but restored. Not ended, but begun again. For every morning is a small resurrection, a miniature Big Bang. A fresh start in the endless cycle of waking and sleeping, living and dying, forgetting and remembering. The mammoths are gone, but you remain. The glaciers have retreated, but you remain. The old world has ended, but you remain. And one day, you too will fade, will dissolve, will return to the elements from which you came. But that is not sad. That is not tragic. That is simply the way of things, the way of water, the way of seasons, the way of the cosmos. And there is a deep peace in accepting this, in surrendering to this, in trusting the wisdom of the process that is so much larger, so much older, so much wiser than any individual life. So sleep now. Sleep deeply. Sleep peacefully. Sleep with the knowledge that you are held by forces of incomprehensible magnitude and compassion. The gravity that keeps you anchored to the earth is the same force that holds galaxies together. The electromagnetic force that binds your atoms is the same force that makes the stars shine. You are made of the same substance as the cosmos. You are the universe in human form, and the universe takes care of its own. Rest in the great silence. Rest in the deep darkness. Rest in the eternal now. All is well. All has always been well. All will always be well. The ice may come, but it will also go. The night may be long, but the dawn always returns. The winter may be harsh, but spring is inevitable. This is the promise of the cycles. This is the truth of the earth. This is the gift of time. And whenever you're ready to explore another world, we'll be here, waiting in the wings, ready to take your hand and guide you into the next mystery, on the next wonder, the next beautiful unknown. But for now, there is only this. this breath, this moment, this perfect infinite peace. Sleep well, traveler, sleep deep. The journey continues in dreams. And whenever you're ready to explore another world, we'll be here.